Madam Chair Hoyle and members of the committee, my name is Mark Frohnmayer, and I'm the Chief Petitioner of the Unified Primary Initiative. Thank you for having this hearing today. I regret that I am unable to attend the discussion in person. The Unified Primary Initiative will create a more democratic elections process and help restore the public's confidence in government. I've prepared a short presentation using a hypothetical election of adorable kittens in order to explain both the need for and the operation of the unified primary system. Alice, Bob, Carrot, Deb, Erline, and Frankie are running for governor of Cattsburg. Like Oregon, Cattsburg has two major political parties. Carrot and Deb are independents. Like Oregon, Cattsburg has a partisan primary election first, where red hat and blue hat voters receive state-funded advertising and ballots for candidates in their same major party. And just like Oregon, about 1/3 of the kittens, the ones not registered with either one of the two major parties, are shut out of the process, and Carrot and Deb are forced to sit on the sidelines. Each of the two major party candidates advance by a plurality of voters in their own parties, so candidates willing to work across party lines can be punished by their own party bases. In many cases, the majority of voters did not vote for either primary winner, but because they are the winners of the primary, they are the presumed frontrunners for the general election. Although independent candidates can enter the process at this point, they have little chance of winning, and here's why. When a voter can only make one choice in an election, ideologically similar candidates split votes. So a voter that actually favors a long shot or independent candidate must instead strategically vote for the so-called lesser of evils. We call this the spoiler effect. As a result, every election ends up really being a race between a red hat and a blue hat, each chosen by a small and opposing subset of the population. The balance of power shifts back and forth depending on which major party is least disliked by an increasingly disillusioned electorate. And as you can imagine, after several generations, Cattsburg's government is stifled, all because of an unfair divided election system. Candidates wanting to win must play to a partisan base before they can make their cases to the electorate as a whole. Independents are sidelined in the primary, and their supporters are warned they must strategically vote against them in the general. Be they kitten or human, 30% of voters are shut out. And in districts dominated by one party, the election is effectively over in the primary, before most voters have had a say. This also means that well-financed special interests can use threats of a partisan primary challenge to shift the entire political spectrum to extremes. And election results are skewed when similar candidates are in the race, spoiling the outcome for the best candidate and the majority of voters. We think there's a better way to run elections. Here's how it works. First, a unified primary election. Every voter gets the same ballot that shows all candidates, regardless of party. Every voter gets a simple yes or no vote on each candidate, and the two candidates receiving the most yes votes progress to the general election. Every voter has an equal say on each candidate without regard to the number of candidates in the race or their affiliations, and voters aren't strategically compelled to vote against their actual favorites. The general election becomes a race between the two candidates most approved by all, where every voter, including those who approved or disapproved of both candidates in the primary, can choose between them after taking a closer look. The result is a better democracy and happier kittens. Candidates campaign to all voters without having to pass through a partisan filter first. Every voter gets more choice and an equal voice on every candidate. Independent candidates get a fair shake since they participate in the full process and voters aren't penalized for honestly voting for their favorites. Special interests can't game the system via partisan primary challenges, and no more spoilers. The unified primary is easy to understand, and it's a simple drop-in replacement for the taxpayer-funded primary system we have now. I truly appreciate the opportunity to speak with you here today. Asking elected leaders to change the voting system that puts them in office is never an easy request. Yet the Oregon legislature has consistently stood up to embrace new ideas and reforms to our democratic process. I hope today's hearing is the beginning of a productive discussion about how we can continue to better reflect the views and values of Oregonians in our representative government and afford all Oregon voters an equal voice. Thank you.